Welcome to All Pro Football Data. My name is Jim Coburn, and today's episode, Collin Oliver, edge rusher out of Oklahoma State. We're going to be looking at him based on his production profile and other statistical factors. Interesting fact about Collin Oliver is that he was Big 12 Defensive Freshman of the Year in 2021. And I'm going to tell you guys this right now. He's probably the most underrated edge rusher in this particular draft class based on his production profile. What is that? Well, I look at defensive market share. Defensive market share is where you take an individual statistic, you divide it by the team total to get a percentile score. That score is then compared to every single prospect in my database, which goes back to 1989, to give me an idea of how good they were on their team based on their market share. So it takes a look at things like if you were to take a player who had 4 sacks on the team that had, say, 40 sacks, for the total team, then that player had 10% market share. You take that 10% market share score, you compare it to every single performance in the database since that time span to give you that number. So that's what defensive market share production is. And when you go to the numbers here, he was fantastic in a lot of different areas. He was 90 plus percentile in terms of solo tackle data, 70 percentile in terms of sack data, and 80 percentile in terms of tackle for loss data. Hits all the numbers you're looking for in terms of starter potential, Pro Bowl potential, and a lesser extent All-Pro potential, but I would say he hits definitely the numbers you're looking for in terms of solo tackles and tackle for loss that you really want to see out of the position there. And when you look at his other data points, which is just the biggest thing about him, he was fantastic in terms of forced fumbles and in terms of pass deflection data. I mean, these numbers are bonkers. He's better in terms of a lot of prospects in this particular draft class in these particular, for this particular data set here. So these are crazy numbers for a guy who could potentially become like that drop back kind of, 3-4 outside linebacker type or a strong side linebacker type who can actually maybe even be able to cover too. And then, of course, if you look at adjusted production scores, adjusted production takes a look at things like their age, strength of schedule, strength of team, to see how productive were they for their age, how productive were they for their level of competition, and how productive were they for the teams that they face, the strength of schedule and those types of things. And when you look at his data here, he was pretty dang fantastic as well. 90 plus percentile in terms of his age, 90 plus percentile in terms of the MSA score, and 90 plus percentile in terms of his pass score, which includes things like forced fumbles and pass deflection data, whereas the MSA takes those numbers out. But these are fantastic numbers, and when you look at him in terms of his adjusted production, he's above the All-Pro averages, he's above the Pro Bowl averages, and the starter averages in terms of that particular metric. Now, moving on to comparisons for him. These are the prospects that tested similar to Oliver in terms of his overall production profile. Guys like Zach Bond, Derek Hall, Julian Peterson, Manny Lawson, Haason Reddick, Khalil Mack, Trey Flowers, and Porter Gustin. And the biggest thing you need to take out of this is how well is he going to test as an athlete? If he tests well as an athlete, you're looking at a Haason Reddick kind of situation, if you will, or even a Julian Peterson situation, to a lesser extent. So if he doesn't test well as an athlete, then you're looking at a Porter Gustin. You're looking at a Zach Bond, more of a rotational pass rusher type for him. But he does have good all-around profile, which comes to the outlook for him. Collin Oliver profiles as a starter to all-pro edge rusher based on his production profile. He is kind of like a 3-4 outside linebacker production guy in a 4-3 strong side linebacker's body, which is probably the biggest knock on him the teams are going to have is, can he really hold up on the edge, if you will? That's going to be a big question mark the teams have, but how athletic Oliver is will determine if he's on the elite versus starter side of the spectrum. But he could be the next Haason Reddick if he goes to the right team. That's going to be the biggest thing for him. But I think overall, when you look at his profile, this guy is just a playmaker, guys. Like, regardless of the fact if he doesn't exactly play edge full time, let's say he goes to a 4-3 scheme and, is more of a 4-3 outside linebacker type, who rushes the passer, in blitz situations and those sort of things. He's just sideline to sideline type player that if he went to the right team, he's going to be fantastic, especially against the run. Again, hit 90 plus percentile in terms of tackle for loss. Those numbers are fantastic for him. So this is how he profiles, guys. May not be, we'll have to see what his actual measurements are, but he may be closer to, say, a strong side linebacker type in the NFL. But this overall profile, if he goes to the right team, he could be just ridiculous, guys, especially if he tests well, because his production was off the charts in terms of his ability to be a pass rusher, to make plays in the passing game. Just everything about him was just fantastic. So I might really need to be evaluating him as a pursuit linebacker because, he is listed as an edge, but, he could be a great football player in the NFL based on his overall production profile. And with all that stuff out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching today. My name is Jim Coburn, also known as Geometrics on Twitter. You can also check out my Twitter page at JIMETRICS, also formerly known as X, but I still call it Twitter. And you can also check out my Patreon page, patreon.com/JCoburn, JCOBERN, to check out the videos, because if you become a Patreon subscriber, you will get access to a lot of videos early. So if you don't want to wait for these videos, go there to see them early. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!